Hi, we're the Guru Girls, Mary, Beth and Gina, and this is The Whole You.
How are you?
I am doing better now.
Good.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Hello. I had a meltdown a moment ago with Miss Mary Beth, and she was so sweet to talk to me through my struggles and discovering that other people are having struggles right now too. So we were going to talk about vacations again, because I just came back from one, which you would think would have me all rested, and I'm not. But we kind of decided to change it maybe just to see where we flow today, because it's kind of coming into a maybe shadow period.
Yeah, I've been reading a lot lately. They call this like the time of like Scorpio time. So it's kind of a time where you are noticing things are coming up for you. Things that maybe you need to let go in your life, things that maybe need to shift in your life. And we're all before we kind of go into that cocoon phase of winter. And I think what we're seeing a lot of, and I've noticed it within myself and a lot of other friends and family members, is really coming up against some hard stuff and kind of having to make these big decisions in life, like, okay, do I continue doing these things, or do I continue in this relationship, or do I need to let that go and move on, or do I need to make some changes within that context? And I know it sounds very general, because I want it to be able to apply to you and have you really look at that.
Yeah, because relationship can be anything. Your relationship with yourself, with your job, with your friends, with your boyfriend, with a non-boyfriend, with your food, whatever your relationship is with something that is causing you to think about it, and it's as Mary Beth said, smacks you right in the face right now in this period of time, gives you a moment to evaluate whether or not it's still useful for you. And that term can sound very selfish, because people are useful for us, but they can also become not useful. And it's not a permanent thing. Food is not a permanent unusefulness, but if you're eating too much sugar at a certain period of time, it might be good to put that down for a little while and as permanently as you can. But same with people, same with jobs, same with obligations. We need to do the things that are enriching for ourselves and our spirits and our mind and our bodies. And if they're no longer effective or useful, then we probably should put them down. And if they're really bad for us, we don't want to try not to pick them back up again. But putting something down doesn't mean a permanent separation. It just means it may not be right for us at the time.
Correct. And I think too, I hear this a lot regularly, and I've learned it within myself, is we feel like loving ourselves or taking the time for ourselves is selfish, and we should always be putting what's out here first. Let me tell you, the real work in this world, in order to really be out there in a place of love and energy and presence, is to really work on the pieces that are going on in here. And sometimes that work is not fun, and it's not a quick fix. And it's really, really looking at your stuff and recognizing it is huge too, when you come up against it and saying, all right, I'm kind of seeing this going on. Instead of saying, why me? Say, well, what do I need to look at?
Yes.
What is the lesson to be learned, or what is the piece that I need to work on at this point? I look at us as all like onions, right? We all have like layers that we peel off. Yeah. And when we start to get deeper into that onion, it gets to be some of that really hard stuff that we need to look at.
The good stuff, yeah, that we need to really work on. And, we all have methods of coping, and some of us have specific tools that we've picked up throughout life intentionally. Others have just picked up things through street smarts. I was thinking about it this morning in the shower, that a lot of my tools are not cognitive anymore, that they're just kind of embodied in me. And I feel really lucky to have people in my life like Mary Beth and Blue Feather to help me when I forget a tool. and they help remind me of the tool that I need to use. And it doesn't mean that I'm stupid or that I'm not learning or, being hard on myself for not being perfect. It's just sometimes I forget some of the coping tools that I have learned through my relationships and my studies, and it's nice to have somebody to help remind me. So thank you, both of you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome, honey. And I applaud you for taking the moment and being vulnerable about it and being real about it, but owning your part in it.
Yes.
And then, but also recognizing, okay, this is a huge wake-up call for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how do I step back from it, and where do I need to go?
Yeah. And I think that's probably the scariest part for people. It's less scary for me now, where I used to procrastinate for change so badly because I didn't know what was next, and I was scared of the void, and I didn't know where to go. And now one of my practices is, I think I've said this before, I plant seeds throughout the year, and the parts that are supposed to grow and be helpful for me, like applying for a job, or taking a step toward something new with Gina's Kitchen, or trying a new exercise routine, or whatever seed I'm planting to try to bring to me what my path is. Some of it will come to fruition and some won't, and being okay with that. Planting as many seeds as I can, and knowing that what is supposed to be mine will. I had a purpose for this statement. What did you just say before?
Just about really taking the time to really look at what you're doing and recognizing within you.
Yes, your limitations and owning that. And so, part of my struggle right now in being an older person, I'm I'm perimenopausal, and so we were talking earlier about how the emotions, are sporadic and the hormones are sporadic, and so there's a lot of change going on with me physically, which is causing some of my emotional struggles, but also just energetic struggles that I'm having, because I, as you all know, have 5,000 jobs, and I've been juggling them for a long time, trying to live through my gifts, and it might be just a little too much for me right now, and I might have to step back into the real world, I guess, and get a regular job. And it's something that I'm exploring. It'll be not my favorite job, but it won't be the worst. Mm-hmm. And because I just looked at the winters are always hard for me, and if I can take away one struggle, which this year might be financial, then maybe the winters will be easier. Holidays used to be a big struggle for me, and they're not anymore. I've learned my coping tools for that and my self-love, but oh my God, I had a sucky day yesterday. It was awful. And we were talking about how so many people had terrible days yesterday, and I don't know if I'm spinning from that still, but regardless, I came back from vacation and I am not rested. So that is a sign, a big old smack in the face, if anything. So, yeah.
Did you notice when you were on vacation, the thought of coming back was like this overwhelm? Where I'm coming back, I have to get back into this go, go, go? Or did any of that come up for you while you were going through that?
So I have to say, typically by the end of vacation, I'm ready to come home. Like the day before the vacation's over, I'm kind of ready to come home. I start, scheduling in my head, figuring out what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. This time I wasn't ready. I didn't have a foreboding feeling. Mm-hmm. And this was a different vacation than usual because my parents were on the vacation with me, which was a delight. I hadn't traveled with them for over 30 years, and It was beautiful spending time with them. We did some excursions that I don't normally do on vacation, because typically on vacation I just...
Oh, you're like me.
I just rest.
Yeah. Me too.
And Mom really wanted to do some excursions, and I enjoyed them. The second one, I don't think any of us really enjoyed that much. We can talk about it on another day.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it was just really nice. But because we took those excursions, it took 2 of my days of normal rest away. So I felt like the vacation was very fast and very short. So last night of the vacation, I wasn't dreading coming home, but it wasn't real to me that I was coming home. And so I wasn't ready. And then I had to jump into baking the next day. I had a big order for Gina's Kitchen Delights to fill. And so I went straight into work that next morning. There was no downtime of rejuvenation or reacclimation. And I just been running ever since. So it was almost like the vacation, although again, I enjoyed it so much. It was such a wonderful piece for my heart, spending that time with my mom and dad. It really was. And but it was almost like, you know how when you take away from work and you come back and everything's just piled on, so it's almost like, why did I leave? I almost feel that way, because I don't get paid for the time I'm gone, and now I'm trying to catch up, and I have so much stuff that I could have been doing that I almost feel like it was just this, part of time that I still needed, even though emotionally I really needed the time with my parents.
Yeah.
But do you know what I'm saying?
Nope, I totally understand. It's a tool, but it can be difficult for a lot of us because we have to go right back. We try to take that vacation up to the last minute. One thing I'm learning, because I'm the same way, I tend to book myself to the last minute on my vacation, and then I come back and I'm hitting the ground running, and it's exhausting. And then by the end of the week, you're completely depleted. And for me, it makes me sick. I'm trying now to not schedule anything that doesn't have to be the day after I come back.
Yep.
Obviously, if I have to go back into the office, I have to do that, but really keeping the day as light as I can in terms of around that time in the office.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a better planning for me would have been to try to get the order filled before I left. And unfortunately, it was backed right up to the chocolate festival. So we had chocolate festival on Saturday, so planning for that whole week, and then we left Sunday. I actually hired a friend to clean the kitchen, so I didn't have ants when I came home because there was no time to clean, So, and in retrospect, it would have probably been better to plan that before the baking, before that. But I also, though, always want to have the best, most fresh product too, so maybe that wouldn't have worked anyway. But yeah. Great point, though. I think it's very important to try to schedule that down day to reacclimate back from vacation into real life.
And if it really means sometimes cutting your vacation a day short, like maybe you were planning to come back Sunday, you have to be back in the office, say Monday, maybe coming back Saturday and Saturday evening, so that you have kind of all day Sunday to just reacclimate.
Yeah, it's important.
Get some things done, get yourself back into your, what I call your mode, and just taking that time for yourself.
Yep, I agree.
And I think too that, you were talking about having to face some things and letting things go. That can be really hard too. That's not a decision that's to be taken lightly or easily. So I always tell people to give yourself that time to what I like to call it, we are going into the cocoon phase with winter. I've said that, but taking that time to cocoon with what you're thinking of moving into as well.
Yep. One of the practices that I have with Blue Feather is death ritual.
Yes.
And we do that every fall when life is the end of the old way is coming, and so what I like to do, we being her students, we find something that we know we need to put down, and sometimes I actually pick up other things. I'm not sure if that's a practice that is of the death ritual or a Gina-ism, but sometimes I put down something and then I end up picking up something else, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting and new to carry me through the winter for my cocoon. So I'm excited for my death ritual, and I may do something different than I thought, though, because I had thought about, I was telling Mary Beth earlier, I thought about cycles. It's been a very strong signal for me all summer to get rid of cycles because they tend to rule me. And but I'm not sure now that that's what it is, so I'll find out. Oh, one thing I wanted to say, you were just talking about having things pop into your face and change, and there was this sign, but there's a beautiful path at the resort where we stayed at the Sandos Playa Car in Playa del Carmen. And there's a beautiful path that kind of inspired my fairy garden, to be honest, because it has these huge globes that they have in the trees, and at night it just lights up, and there's a petting area for donkeys, and there's a cat city where these little kitties, there's a whole bunch of feral cats on the property, and they all have their own little houses, and they have a little cafe.
Gosh, it's cute.
It's adorable. And they have little inspirational signs that are going up the path. And one of them said, the first rule in life is to never give up. And I looked at that and I said, I think it was either the first rule in life or the most important rule in life. And I thought, I think the most important rule in life is to know when to give up.
I agree with you. I think there's so much we live in today's world where it's go, 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 compete, 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 and we're not stopping. We're not allowing ourselves to say, this isn't feeding us on any level. It's making us sick on some level.
Exactly.
And stopping and saying, I don't need to worry about what Joe Schmo over here is doing. Good for him.
Yeah.
But I need to focus on what's good for me. And that's a great point.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm at right now, you know, with I want to make money sharing my gifts. I know that, and I know that I'll continue to do that, but I also need to fix the ratio of that right now. And right now I'm doing it at 100%, but I'm not quite making my financial goals, which is going to cause me even more stress this winter. So I'm still going to share my gifts through my creativity, and still make money at it, but my focus, I think, is going to be more stability for the winter. I think that's going to be it. So I'm going to plant lots of seeds toward that stability and see what grows.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have to go play a mom who rushes into an emergency room because her daughter's there, and that's why I'm in costume right now.
Which it is also Halloween.
Yes,
So-
this is my Abby Anderson's mom costume.
Yes. Abby Anderson's mom. Yes. And as you can tell, our beautiful little fall Halloween decorations, little ghosts and everything.
It was
So
so pretty when I walked in.
Yeah.
Mary Beth had set us up right in front of the fire, and it was just really sweet.
Yeah.
So thank you for all of your efforts to always make these such wonderful videos and so beautiful.
Thank you. No, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for being my friend and loving me.
I love you, honey. Oh.
And thank you guys for being with us.
Yes, and you know, we'd love to hear any thoughts you have, anything you're kind of coming up against, working through. Please post below. Always like us and subscribe
with our little bell.
And watch for the launch of my new website here in the next couple of weeks.
yay, that's so exciting.
So you can see what the name of my company is, Bella Nutrition Services. It's going to be launching here in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And our videos will be on there. So
Yes.
it's another place to watch. And then Gina's Kitchen Delights. Always follow hers, order her great stuff. It's really good.
So yummy.
Made with love.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much,
Thank
you
you.
guys.
Thank you for your
being
time.
with us. And I guess we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.